God bless you, everybody. So I want to talk to some of you who feel like, well, what God's been showing me is that there's some of you out there who feel like you lost a loved one to an illness, to whatever, car accident, anything. You lost a loved one, and they ended up dying, and you feel like, as a Christian, as someone who knows about the kingdom of heaven and how to operate in the kingdom of heaven, you feel guilt about that person passing away. You feel like you should have been able to prevent it through your either your prayers, your decrees, um, your declarations, your spiritual warfare, all of that. You feel like you should have been able to stop that from happening. And what the Lord, see, God is so good because he's so, he's so loving. But what the Lord wants to do is to tell you that it's not your fault that that person died. And you couldn't have, prayed any differently, or did anything differently, or declared, or decreed, or stayed up longer and do spiritual warfare, fair battle. Like, God is telling you that you did all that you could do, but for whatever reason, um, you know, the person went on home. And God is saying, do not feel any manner of guilt about it. Do not feel any manner of guilt about it. Because what's happening is the enemy is speaking. The enemy is speaking to your mind. See, what happens is the enemy knows scripture too. Okay? So what happens is, and this is the specific scripture that God gave me in a dream that the enemy is using. That scripture that says that we are to pray without ceasing. And so you're hearing that scripture in your mind and you're feeling like, why I didn't pray without ceasing. I didn't pray from sun up to sundown, or I should have, got up and prayed from sun up to sundown, and then prayed and woke up in the middle of the night and prayed, and you know, I should have fasted more or whatever. And see, what the enemy does is he will take scripture and twist it. And yes, there is a scripture that says that, but it's a figure of speech. It's not, you know, it's like the scripture that Jesus says when he says, if your right eye offends you, pluck it out. He ain't really telling you to pluck your eye out. So the scripture that tells you to pray without ceasing means that you need to be praying a lot. People, we need to be praying a lot. But there's no quantitative number on how many hours you should be praying, or blah, 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 you know so don't let the enemy beat you down with that scripture, okay? Because there's no way that we could pray from sun up to sundown or whatever. Just there's no way that because we have to live our lives. Or we can't just sit there and pray. When can we live our lives at some point? So the point of it is, what I'm trying to say is that don't take on any guilt for that person passing away. Do not take on any guilt for it, okay? And God wants you to be free from that. Wants you to be free from that guilt, and just to let you know that for whatever reason the person passed, and it had nothing to do with you and the amount of prayer or fasting or anything like that. It's just for whatever reason that person had to go, and hopefully be to go on to be with the Lord. But the other thing God said to me about this was that he has given you closure on this matter. He has given you closure, or he is about to give you closure on this matter. And you need to be, um, if he has given you closure on it, you need to recognize it. You need to recognize that. And don't think whatever it is that he showed you or allowed you to see, don't think that it was a figment of your imagination. It was the actual closure that God wanted to give you. The issue that we run into is that some of us, and a lot of us, will deny this, deny, because we don't realize it. But a lot of us have a religious spirit that puts God in a box, and we don't realize that that's what it's doing. So since we put God in a box, when God tries to give us closure on certain matters, we don't receive it because we were taught, oh, God doesn't operate this way, he only operates that way, or he can't do something because that's because you've been taught that he can't do it a certain way, or that was Old Testament, or that, that was during the apostles' time, so those sort of things can't happen. So, but what God has said to me, that he has given you closure. So for those of you that have had some things happen to you, you need to go back and realize that that was God. um on the other side of that, for those of you who are looking back and saying, well, I don't recognize anything that happened to me that might have been closure, be prepared to receive um, closure that God is about to give you. Be open to it, okay? um and I'm not saying anything that you are causing to bring about, nothing that you are causing to bring about. But if God shows you something to give you closure in regards to that loved one, receive it as such, and move on and go on with your life as much as possible. You know, you know, we are human, so we are allowed to grieve, but that would allow you to 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 move forward, to have closure. And God knows that he made us. We're humans. He knows that we need that psychologically. We need that for our souls, for healing. We need that closure to know that that person who passed on is okay, and is more than okay. They're well. And I guess for me, and see, I don't really like to talk about this too much because people, you get people go, well, what, people are like, what, that ain't right, that's demonic, da da da. But I've had a couple of experiences when people pass away, and I'm just gonna give you the most tame one, the most tame. But I've had a couple of experiences when people who have passed away, God has given me a dream of that person, and I see them in a dream, and they're either glorified, or they look like they were when they were in their 20s, or or they're sitting in the sunshine or something, or they're sitting by the pool in the sunshine, where I just know, okay, the person is fine. But that doesn't mean that the only way that God can give you that closure is through dreams. So all I'm just saying is, just be open to that when he gives you that closure, okay? But my main sticking point that I want to make is that do not take on any guilt. That it doesn't say anything about you as a as a prayer warrior or intercessor, because a lot of times we get to thinking, well, I'm an intercessor and I'm this and that, and I couldn't even say, so and so, and there is sometimes when we don't know why. Some things we won't know why until we go to see the Lord. But there are some times where a person, they have to go on to be with the Lord, you know and I don't have the answers. But sometimes you can pray, fast, stand on one foot, do a flip, and the person still go on to be with the Lord. And there are other times you can pray, fast, and do everything, and then the person comes. It's a miracle, and they come from the brink of death. Um, but the point of it is that God does not want you to take it on yourself as if you did something wrong. It's as if you did something wrong, you did something to cause it, or you didn't do enough or whatever. You know, the mind can make you go nuts, going, well, what if this and that and the other thing. God is telling you, don't don't take it on as guilt. Don't take it on. Don't take it on as anything. You know. So, all right, guys. God bless you. I I hope this reaches whoever it needs to reach. I know it's gonna reach whoever it needs to reach because God wouldn't have given it to me. The other thing is that what I meant to say earlier was that you know one of the other things is that we get, and I say we because I've been through this, is where you get flack because it's like, oh well, you didn't have enough faith in order to have that person be healed and so on and so forth. And I've heard all sorts of things dealing with a child who's disabled. I've heard it all. You know, you don't have enough faith, or you know, all different types of things. And God is just saying, it's not that. It's not that. It's for whatever reason the person had to go home, and I don't have the answers to that. But what you need to take away from this is that there's nothing that you did wrong. There's nothing that you could have done differently. It's just, you know, we're gonna miss that person. It's unfortunate. We're gonna miss them, to say the least. Um, but I just thank God, for the people that I've had to grieve over. I know that I'm gonna see them again. All right. Well, God bless you. I love you guys. Until next time.